Hi everybody. Today I have on my St. Matthew Lutheran Church shirt. It pictures all these little sheep going into the church. Here we have our shepherd. We could see it as our pastor or as Jesus. And we've talked in the past about how we're equipped in the church to go out to be the church in the world. And yesterday I was also talking about that word hope. And I've heard a lot of people say, I hope we can get back into church soon. And I certainly think the same thing. I was also thinking today how this isn't a time when it's a whole new thing for us Lutherans. Back in the 1500s, when Martin Luther lived, another pandemic occurred. In August of 1527, the Black Plague came to Wittenberg, where Martin Luther and his family lived. They had to then figure out what to do with all of this sickness around. Now, the Black Death had occurred before, about 200 years earlier, and people still vividly remembered what that time was like. It had broken out in all over Europe, and probably about 2/3 to maybe even 3/4 of all people died from the Black Plague. Now, the bubonic plague or the Black Plague was spread by infected fleas, and it could also be transmitted somewhat through the air. But back then in 1527, they didn't have the science or the doctors to understand just how it was transmitted. What people did know was to be in the presence of a sick person was dangerous. One doctor at that time even said that instantaneous death occurs when the aerial spirit escaping from the eyes of the sick person strikes the healthy person standing near and looking at the sick. In other words, just someone who is sick just looking at you, kind of the germs and everything would jump out and jump onto you and make you sick. Well, in response to how Christians should respond to this pandemic, Martin Luther wrote this. He said, I shall ask God mercifully to protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it. I shall avoid places and persons where my presence is not needed in order to not become contaminated and thus perchance inflict and pollute others, and so cause their death as a result of my negligence. Now, our staff here, Pastor Kathy and Pastor David and Mr. Scott and all of our office staff have been working very hard on ways that we can hopefully safely come back to church, and also ways that we can continue to be the church when we can't really be together in our building. I know Tim and Chris Peck have been having Zoom youth group meetings every Sunday night. We've been doing confirmation by these videos, and I've been leading Disciple Training Cyber Camp every Friday. Other groups have been doing Bible study and faith conversations on Zoom, and you can find all of our worship services on our website. And you can find them on Facebook. It's not hard to find those. On May 31st, we're going to be trying another way to come together for worship. We're going to have drive-in worship in our parking lot. During this worship, you'll drive in, you will always stay in your car, and you'll listen to the service through the radio. The pastors and I will be standing on that grassy area conducting and leading the service for you. Whenever you arrive, someone will come by your car with a mask and with gloves, and they will give everyone who wants communion in the car a little container that will have grape juice and wine in it. And then we'll all take communion at one time. As you're leaving, you'll be able to put an offering in a basket that someone will be holding at our exits. So maybe my church today, or my shirt today with the sheep outside of the church, is kind of a cool way to view our church now. We might be outside, but we can still be the church. We can still follow Jesus, our shepherd, and he still takes care of us. Let's keep taking care of each other.